I was breaking fair housing rules. I was breaking lots of stuff. I was doing everything myself. I remember one day it took me 4 hours to replace a dishwasher. And that was one of my aha moments, like, you don't need to do this anymore.
There is a new American dream. One that doesn't involve working till you're 65 before you start enjoying life. If you're someone looking for ways to regain control over your time and check off that bucket list now, you're in the right place. We share tips from experts on investing, personal finance, and mindset so that you can finally have the freedom to work less and live more. This is the Freedom Investing Podcast with your host, Chris Toribio.
What's going on, everyone? This is Chris Toribio with the Freedom Investing Podcast, and I'm so happy you're here to join us for another amazing episode. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our latest episodes. Moving on to today's guest, we have Adrian Smude. Adrian has been investing in real estate since he became an accidental landlord in 2002. Adrian attempted to invest again, but his second home ended as a short sale. After 11 years of being a hobby landlord, he discovered his passion for real estate investing through REIA meetings. Adrian switched his investing niche to mobile homes with land and has been following this path ever since. He is a part of 3 masterminds, including a high-level mastermind which he hosts. In addition, he is a best-selling author of How to Buy Mobile Homes and teaches about his successes and failures. Adrian, welcome to the show. Before we dive into it, give us a quick 2-minute rundown of who you are, your background, and where you are in your journey to achieving time freedom.
Chris, thank you for having me. Well, my real quick story that you've already alluded to a little bit in my bio there is I started as a really, really bad tenant. I mean, we got eviction notices for pudding wrestling, spaghetti wrestling, parking a motorcycle in the living room. I mean, you don't want to rent to 20-year-old Adrian. But because all that happened with my friends and I bought a house. Because 20 years ago now, you just signed paperwork and it gave you houses. You know, they just gave them out for free. But I did something really important that I didn't realize I was doing. I split my mortgage up amongst my friends and I lived for free. And that kind of got me hooked on this real estate thing. You talked about my second house turning into a short sale. I bought that one wrong. I was renting it wrong. Everything was wrong about that, which was awesome in hindsight. It hurt my ego at the time, but that helped me be more conservative. And then eventually I fell into the mobile home space. So the single unit mobile home with the dirt. So homeland, not the park and not just the home inside of the park. And that is where I've shifted all of my business to because the cash flow is higher. And if I have higher cash flow, a bigger return on my investment, I get that time freedom that you're talking about. I call it lifestyle freedom. And I get to control my time of where I want to be, when I want to be, with who I want to be. And there's nothing that you can spend enough money on to get that. That is like, that just feels better than any amount of money. There's no cars or anything that's better than that.
I love that. That's definitely mantra of this podcast. And there's a lot to break down there that I'm excited about for the show. But at the very beginning, you said that you became an accidental landlord because you purchased a house, rented it out with a bunch of friends, and they were ending up paying down your mortgage. And so the question I had here is when you got started, what did you do to position yourself to be able to buy that first home in the first place?
Well, I was really lucky that I didn't do anything. I mean, I took advice by a family member that was a mortgage broker. He said, why don't you buy something? And I did. I didn't know much of what I was doing. I trusted him. I just kind of trusted the process. At 20 years old, I didn't have a lot to lose, kind of thinking. And I bought the house. I mean, I took a chance. That's really what I did. I didn't think of it in that manner then, but that has come back that now I'm just like, all right, I need to take chances because what's the big risk here?
Absolutely. And so did you use some sort of like low money down owner occupied type of option to purchase that first home? Or did you buy it in cash, or how did that end up working?
$1,500 with a bank finance loan. Back then they just wrapped everything into the mortgages. That's also why the second one was a short sale that I lost it because, it was a bad financing back then. But that first one worked because I bought it in the right numbers. I was renting it right, like meaning I was making money on the rental. The second one, I was not making money, but making money on the rental and living for free, so I could afford it when the economy crashed. When I lost my job for 6 months, I could still live there, take care of the place because other people were paying for that property.
Gotcha. And it's really interesting because, we're in I wouldn't say we're in a similar situation just because lending requirements have tightened up significantly as opposed to 2008, right? But, we are starting to see signs of the economy kind of plateauing because interest rates have been rising up. Maybe buyer sentiment has gone down a little bit. And, who knows what we're going to be seeing as we enter 2023. But the point is that you were able to position yourself where if the event happened where you were losing your job, and maybe even rents had to go down a little bit or property values went down, the biggest thing is you weren't losing the property, right? And
Exactly.
So you did this for like 11 years, not really sophisticated. Were you kind of just like collecting cash each month, or how were you kind of managing your properties then before you learned how to do it in a more sophisticated way?
I was breaking fair housing rules. I was breaking lots of stuff. I was doing everything myself. I remember one day it took me 4 hours to replace a dishwasher. And that was one of my aha moments. Like, you don't need to do this anymore. You could do more productive things. 4 trips to Home Depot, 4 hours there, flooding the kitchen. I've worked on lots of parts of the house and helped people, which is good because now I understand. If I go to hire you and you say it takes 4 hours for a dishwasher, I say, no. That's what it takes me. It should take you at least half the time. And that was really valuable learning. And now I'm just consistently upping the game. How can I improve systems? How can I be more fair to everyone? How can I automate more? And I don't think that ever stops because we always want to be able to help more people make more money with less time. That's like the goal.
Absolutely. And so in this point in time, right? So you purchased your first property in 2002. The second one you lost when the market hit the fan. And so you eventually ended up attending your first REIA meeting 11 years after you purchased that first property. So at this point in time in the economy, it's 2013. We're actually back on the recovery period from what happened in 2008. Describe to us what triggered you to start attending these REIA meetings, and where were you both from a professional standpoint, a mindset standpoint, just where were you as a person at that point in time?
Well, I was still listening to banks. My ego was much bigger where I was right. I remember that first REIA meeting I went to. Honestly, I went because the Facebook events were relatively new then. And this girl I knew from high school just kept inviting me every month to this meeting. I was annoyed. And for some reason, I happened to be in the area and where I was going was canceled. So I went. And I got hooked. I was the Mr. Know-It-All then, and looking back, I wasn't. I didn't know anything. Everyone was right and not me. But because I said I was going to, fix and flip at some point, it was a common path. And I was working on everything, and that's the only way to do it. But once I started getting educated, that's why I fell in love with the REIA meetings. The education and then the networking. I love networking. I love talking to people. I'm always learning from different people. And I slowly turned it into a business instead of this hobby that I make some money on. And that's when I also got out of the bank financing world a little bit. I stayed in it a little bit, a few years, because it was good. And now today I have zero bank financing. Everything is done with my money or a friend and family's money or owner financing. I like to deal with humans more than banks.
I love that. And that's a very creative way, especially as we enter today's economy. Again, bank lendings are tightening up. And if you have the capability to close on a deal using alternative methods, you can actually see this upcoming economic conditions as an opportunity. So that's great. And so at this point, you joined your REIA meetings, you got hooked, and somewhere along the way, you ended up switching your niche to investing in mobile homes. I'm assuming at this point, after you had that short sale, you didn't purchase anything else since then?
I did purchase a few properties. My wife at the time, she was bankable. The banks liked her. She's an RN, everything perfect on paper. So we had her purchase some properties. But when I switched to the mobile home niche, those aren't financeable. Most of the ones I deal with. And that's when I really had to start sharpening those creative financing skills. And I learned about it in the REIAs, not from a speaker, but from the old school guy and girl that, usually sits in the back of the room. They have silver hair if they have any at all. They don't need to do another deal, but they just love it. And they all talked about mobile homes. At some point, they owned them. And my thought process was, they've been in the business longer than I've been alive. They know more than me. I should listen. And I did. I bought my first one. I was definitely scared. I didn't understand everything, but I was also uncomfortable being comfortable. We live in a nice house. I had a decent job. I didn't need more, but I wanted that freedom part, that I just didn't want someone controlling me with the time I had to be somewhere. And I spent basically the rest of my savings, $16,000, but an old 1965 single wide home and land. It would break almost every rule people talk about. The septic's under the back porch. You go through a bedroom into a bedroom. It's all these rules. Bad school zone. And that's still one of my better deals. I took the chance. It ended up being a phenomenal deal. I put a little bit of money in it. I rented it for $475 a month. Today, it's rented for $720 a month. We'll say a $20,000 investment is all I have in it total. Those aren't bad numbers. You don't need a calculator to figure that one out.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. And so you invest in mobile homes. I guess you have a very interesting niche, even among the mobile home space, because you hear a lot about people who are investing in mobile homes. And as you said, they invest in the parks, they invest in the infrastructure, they develop the land, they try and maximize the square footage so that way you can fit more homes onto them. And then on top of that, their argument is that you don't have to maintain the homes because all you're doing is providing the space for them to park. In your case, you are actually purchasing the homes with the plot of land. And so talk to us a little bit about how you came to that decision and what your experience has been like since then.
Well, first of all, if I did a park, it would be just like you talked about. Owning a big parking lot is pretty attractive and you make money on it. But I like to be different. That's one reason I'm always wearing a bright yellow shirt. And that's just my personality. And I finally found that little middle niche that even experienced investors weren't really aware of. They weren't in. And I have just found in life, if I go where other people aren't, life is easier. Less competition. I made a name for myself faster. I have to do less marketing. And then the flip side of that is I'm serving a population that has less people coming in. We have those stereotypes out there of slumlords and trailer trash and all that. And I get to do my tiny part in breaking some of that stereotype, providing rentals that people don't have the trailer trash lifestyle, and then not being the slumlord and giving these people another option, the sellers and people are going to live in my property. So I get to do my little part there of helping out.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, we always talk about what your why is, right? And there has to be some sort of emotional drive behind what it is that you do. And it sounds like the impact you're having on these communities and these people, even no matter how big or how small it is, that's what's keeping you moving forward from there. And I definitely appreciate and commend you for that. And so here you are purchasing these mobile homes. I guess for people who might be interested in doing what it is that you're doing, can you talk to us a little bit about what your play is? Like if you acquire a mobile home, what is like the type of value add strategy that you do to kind of maximize your return on your investment?
Well, without going down the rabbit hole of being a housing provider, the landlord side of it, but that's really where I have to start, is because I decided to look who is my avatar resident that's going to live in the property. And this wouldn't change no matter what part of real estate I'm in. You have to start there. So I have to buy something that they want, meaning I have to buy in a neighborhood that they want. I have to buy a fenced yard because my avatar is a blue collar handyman, handywoman. They love a fenced yard. They love a workshop that they can be in. They love a little bit of land, not 0.09 acres. They want half acre because they want to bring their utility trailer on it and then park it there. They don't want the HOA. So I got to find a property that they want. And I would say that's really my value add, is providing them with a place that they can have their privacy. They can bring their animals. I'm not talking about dogs and cats only, pigs, rabbits, goats, ferrets, all the barn animals that people don't normally like. They have a fenced yard, and I'm fine with them having 2 or 3 utility trailers there. That's almost my value add. They're buying and renting the home, but then the land has a lot of value to them. That's where people sometimes like, how do you rent it for so much? I'm like, you don't understand. They're getting the area and the privacy that I'm providing is part of what they're paying for, and they love it, and they take pride in their home. And I do some privacy. Like, I don't do yearly checks or monthly inspections that, some of the landlords out there do. This is your home, Chris. I want you to take care of it, and I'm here to help you at any point you want. And people love that and respect it. My people do.
I love that. And you definitely don't want to understate the number one rule of real estate, which is location, location, location. And as you said right there, a lot of the value is purchasing and providing a housing opportunity in a location that people want, that give people the flexibility to do what they'd like, as you're saying. That sounds amazing. And of course, now the rents kind of reflect that. And so as we head into today's economy, where people are unsure about what's going to happen with rents in apartments, in the industrial space, things of that sort, what would you say from an investor standpoint, why mobile homes could potentially be a good asset class to invest in at this time period?
I believe it's like a must-have because we are the affordable housing space. Pretty much all mobile homes are in the affordable housing space. If we're in that recession, or when we get in that recession, whatever you want your definition to be, when we have a 2 household income and they're getting by, maybe making a little bit extra a month, and one of them loses their job, they're going to have to keep coming down a rent level. And when we get to that affordable housing space, there's nowhere else to go. And basic economics say if we're going to have more demand and we're not making more supply, our rents could go up. I'm not planning on them going up. I really am planning on the fact that I have a larger applicant pool, and I'm not going to go with a vacancy, and I'm going to have a really good person in there that can pay, take care of the property, and I'm not going to have that short sale ding again. I'm not going to go without paying my bills ever again. I'm not going to compromise my integrity like I did last time. That's something that's never going to happen again. So that's my, I'll say, big reason. The ROI is great. I mean, there's lots of reasons, but right now, for your question, it's the affordable housing that we're going to continue having demand in.
That's great. And so from a landlord standpoint, or I guess when it comes to managing these type of assets, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Are you finding yourself going out there still receiving phone calls in the middle of the night for a clogged toilet? Are you going out there because things break and you have to fix it? Like, I guess, what does it look like from an owner that's renting out to this type of asset and this type of population?
That is a question I get every time because everyone thinks that mobile homes just break all the time and there's all these problems. You're going to get less quality people that live there. So we do have a few site-built homes, so block homes that are, we master lease them. We lease them from the person that owns it, and then we sublet it out. I manage everything the exact same. That's why I bring that up. I don't manage my mobile homes any different than any site-built home. And you wouldn't have to either. My management style is to attract that handyman, handywoman, and I want them to make the common repairs. And that has made it where we don't have the call, my toilet flapper's out. That's because the plumber lives there. He's going to fix it faster. He's going to call me. And so that's the person we look for. That's not for everyone, but our management style is we're here to help you in your home. And we don't get those calls. When we have a hurricane, because I'm in Central Florida, we proactively reach out. How is everything? The homes that were damaged, I drive by. I'm there at 8 or 9 in the morning the next day, just checking on them. So we do have that customer service, but we don't get those calls in the middle of the night. That we set the expectations. That's what landlords do bad, is they don't set an expectation.
It sounds very similar. I have a couple of friends who also invest heavily into the Section 8 type of population. And so when you provide this type of housing, it seems like the strategy here in making sure that the tenant that you're putting in there takes care of the property is instilling a level of ownership. As you're saying, this is your home. you want to make sure that you take care of your place, because this is, for many of them, a place for them where they would hopefully stay long term, because this is what they are capable of affording at this point in time. And by instilling that level of ownership, oftentimes a lot of these owners tend to have a really good experience with these tenants.
Yeah, we've had tenants crying when they left because life moved on, and after 12 years being in the same place, that's a long chunk of someone's life, and it's their home. It's not just a rental for a year. We want them to make it theirs, and there's some pride level in that, because not everyone's ever going to own a place, and probably should, and not everyone wants to, but they still want some pride if they have someone, some place. And they're also, right now, we also have the thing that landlords are selling houses, and people are moving that have been long-term great tenants, but they are being forced to move. We give our residents the first option to buy it. If for some reason we're selling, we tell them, you're going to be the first person to know about it. If you can qualify and you want to buy it, we'll do that versus sell it to someone else, because we want to give them that security.
I love that. That's great. And so, transitioning a little bit, you said that part of how you were able to transition into space is through mastermind groups, right? So you mentioned you're a part of 3 masterminds, one of which you host. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that mastermind typically works, and what do these 3 masterminds have to offer?
So I'm in Life and Air. That's the first one I ever joined. It's a mastermind and coaching program together. I was not fully for it, and I realized that my mindset was in a bad spot, and that's probably why I wasn't for it. The people that typically don't join them are the people that need them the most, I have found later in my life. But that one is a mix of business and life. The concept is more of plan your life and then put your business around it, versus most people do the opposite. They have their business and then they fill in the rest of their life. And then I joined another one, Circle of Trust, which is got a lot of the similar concepts. We probably talk a little bit more business, and it's a smaller room. And I mimicked my mastermind, elite level mastermind, off of the Circle of Trust, because the guys were like, you pay and be in all of these and you love them so much, why don't you start your own? And I was like, never thought of that. And so the style I like, I know there's a lot of different styles out there, is we go in a room, the whole group, and when it's my turn, it's like 45 minutes, hour and a half, whatever the time lot is, and you are my board of advisors. I give you my challenges, my problems, and everyone gives feedback. And then I take that feedback and obviously have to go take action on it. And then we just move on to the next person. That person gets all their feedback. And as you grow with those people, they know you really well, and they can call you out really quick when they're like, no, you're on the wrong path, or is this really what you talked about you want, or your shiny object every time. And within all of these, we have a thing called a vision. So it's essentially what I want my future life to look like. And that's a common question. How does this fit into your vision? And that'll stop people a lot, and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. So
I like that a lot. I mean, you one of the things you said there is designing your life and then designing your business around that first. I think that's huge, because sometimes people see these business opportunities for what they are, but not realizing the impact that can have on their personal life. And so if you're able to kind of have that level of clarity with what you want and what you're looking for in life, you can kind of avoid some other business opportunities, even though they look great on paper, even though they look like the best thing since sliced bread. If you know very clear that this will have a negative impact on what it is you really want out of life, that'll spare you a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of wasted money, and all of that. So I love that. With freedominvesting.com, one of the things we really like as healthcare providers is, understanding that you may not have to go into real estate as a landlord. If you are already a high W-2 earner, you can invest passively, still reap all the benefits of real estate investing without having to be a landlord. And it's a very similar type of thing that you're saying, in the sense that, if you're in a position where you don't have to jump in and build an acquisitions team and underwrite deals and take the risk with your own capital, and then now you have this liability potential as a landlord. If you have the capability to just write a check and diversify your portfolio, for many people would rather prefer to do that and just stick to what it is that they know and live the life that they want to live.
I couldn't agree more. That's exactly how I diversify. I've been in self-storage before. I could go learn it all, or I could just find my friends that are already very successful, have systems, and give them some money and then get a return. And I have some diversification. Exactly what you just said. I love what you said.
Yeah,
So
it's huge. All right, Adrian. So as much as I'd love to continue this chat, our time for our Freedom 5. I want to make sure we ask you these 5 questions that we ask every guest on our show, starting with the most important question. What is your why? What is the underlying motivation behind everything it is that you do?
It's really to be able to help other people, but the freedom to help them. If it's time, if it's financially, or if it's just advice, whatever it is, I want that freedom to be able to go do that. I love giving and helping. I can't word it any other way. Until you feel that, you don't understand it.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, if you are in a rut and you're trying to figure out what it is that you either want to do or some sort of trying to figure out a way to achieve a certain level of happiness in your life, sometimes it starts with giving first, and somehow, some way, it's going to come back to you either emotionally or physically or whatever it may be. But giving has a huge impact on people for sure. The second question I have for you is, what book has had the largest influence on your life?
Now, I look for a different book because my real answer is the last one I read, because it's the book I needed at that moment in my life. But that's not the answer you really want. So I think the one is What Happy People Know. And this book, I've read it twice. It's one of my few books that have all these tabs up top. And I kind of define it and explain it as it's the science behind Tony Robbins. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, but this puts a little bit more of what's happening in the brain. He goes into some of that, but I just love that book. I've read it multiple times. They've always been at times that I really needed to hear what was in it. And that's probably one that a lot of your listeners haven't heard of.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that one. That's definitely a new one. Third question we have, what is the most impactful thing, whether it's a piece of technology, a habit, or a person, that has helped in freeing up your time?
My office manager, hands down. Jill, I never planned to hire someone full-time. I have a W-2 salary employee. I would have bet everything I own that I would never do that. And now I have, she runs my business. She runs my life. I mean, we've brought in other people part-time to help. And one of the ladies, she told Jill, you know everything about Adrian. She's like, yeah, he trusts me. I mean, she's got credit cards, blank checks, access to bank accounts, my schedule. I would not be able to do what I do and even be on this if it wasn't for her taking care of the things that she loves doing, and they happen to be the stuff I don't love doing. And I invest a lot of time and money into her education as well to make sure she's consistently happy, which what does that do? She wants to help even more and be more involved in it.
I love that. That is a huge value add in terms of freeing up your time. Over here, our team, we also have a virtual assistant who's actually out of the Philippines, but we have him for 30 hours a week, and just what he's been capable of doing to help run things in the background. And you said to do things that we don't want to do, and instead can focus on the high level things that allow us to work on our business, not in our business, has been a huge, huge impact. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Number 4, what is the number one piece of advice you would give to anyone looking to achieve more control over their time?
Go to the next level faster. I like to talk about massive imperfect action. That's been my theme of 2022. And then you have to ask for help, because if you're looking for imperfect action, you're planning on failing. So another awesome book is Failing Forward by John Maxwell. But if you're planning on failing and then you ask for help, then you get help and you can get back up and keep going. But every time I just go slow and I overanalyze things, I just don't get there as quick. Making those small mistakes and then the mental clutter that comes along with it. So just taking action a little bit before you think you're totally ready. And it's hard to screw up taking action and asking for help. I know I keep rewording this in different ways, but sometimes people just have to hear it their own way. And there's so many people out there that want to help. I mean, you run a podcast to help other people. I jump on here to help other people. There's a lot of people out there that want to help.
I absolutely love that. We had a conference earlier this year, and there was a motivational speaker that was on there. And one of the things that he said was, inaction is a decision. And I think, as you were saying, people get into this analysis paralysis because of a variety of different reasons, right? Fear, uncertainty, doubt, not truly feeling comfortable with their level of knowledge before they feel they can take action. And people have to understand that you're never going to get into a situation where 100% of the things that can go wrong. And myself as a healthcare provider, especially, I'm trained to know every single possible thing that can go wrong before taking action, because in my job, it's someone else's life that is at stake. But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, many times the most successful people, they learn just enough so they can take action, then they hit a roadblock, and then they find help, they continue moving that direction forward. And as you said, fail forward. I love that.
Yeah, and I don't think it ever stops. I mean, I was fearful starting to teach, because, I'm so young and all these different excuses. It never stops the fear of the next level. We just have to keep pushing through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single day of the week.
I like the way you worded that. I'm going to write that down.
All right, Adrian, fifth and final question here. What is the best way for our listeners to get in contact with you?
They can go to adrians360.com. ADRIANS360.com. And that site just has my links to my social media, my book, any events I'm doing. It just basically links you everywhere, and it's a nice and pretty site to get to me. You can send me a message on there.
I love that. Make sure to reach out to Adrian, especially if you have any questions about his mastermind, his mindset, his investment strategy. Definitely make sure to check that out. Adrian, tons of amazing information on today's show. I really liked how you talked about your experience as an accidental landlord and how you transitioned and educated yourself to be a little bit more sophisticated so that way you can transition into mobile home investing. I'm sorry. I like how you take your investment strategy by focusing on your avatar first, and then investment comes second. You want to provide homes. You want to make sure you help people and make sure that they live the best quality in best quality conditions as they possibly can. And I like how you talk about how you took some masterminds that you were in and really understood that you want to help people, and you created your own mastermind to be able to do the same. I just want to thank you again for being a fantastic guest on our show, and I look forward to remaining in touch.
I appreciate it, Chris. You're the one that does all the hard work by hosting the mastermind. I just get to show up and have fun and talk. So thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Now, if you like this show and want to learn more about how we can help you free up your time through passive real estate investments, check out www.freedominvesting.com. Make sure to subscribe to our monthly newsletter and schedule an introductory call with our team. We also have a free 7-day course on what passive real estate investing is and how to get started so that you can start your journey towards earning back more time in your life. To all of our amazing listeners here on the Freedom Investing Podcast, my name is Chris Rubio. Till next time.